A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a startling announcement at the White House, President Donald Trump has attributed the collapse of ceasefire negotiations in Gaza to Hamas's reluctance to agree to a truce, fearing the consequences that would follow the release of Israeli hostages. Trump stated, "We're down to the final hostages, and they know what happens after you get the final hostages," suggesting that the group is apprehensive about the potential resurgence of Israeli military operations once their primary goal of hostage retrieval is achieved. This statement raises questions about the true nature of the ceasefire talks, which seem to be focused more on short-term objectives than on establishing a lasting peace. The U.S. administration appears to be distancing itself from extensive peace negotiations, as Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, announced a reduction in American involvement in the talks, accusing Hamas of a lack of sincerity in pursuing a ceasefire. Following this announcement, Israel also withdrew its negotiators from discussions taking place in Qatar, signaling a coordinated retreat from the prospect of a comprehensive peace deal. Hamas, on the other hand, expressed confusion regarding the U.S. stance, asserting that it had shown a genuine commitment to the mediation efforts led by Qatar and Egypt. The group has consistently called for a permanent ceasefire rather than a temporary truce, emphasizing that a mere 60-day pause in hostilities would not address the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza. Israeli officials have reiterated their intention to continue military operations in Gaza, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stating that the campaign would persist until Hamas is dismantled. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has outlined plans for future operations post-hostage release, while Israeli Minister of Defense Israel Katz has alarmingly suggested that the ceasefire would be used to relocate hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to an internment area in southern Gaza. Such statements have raised serious concerns among human rights advocates, who warn that forced population transfers could constitute ethnic cleansing under international law. Trump's earlier comments about transforming Gaza into a Riviera of the Middle East have been met with widespread condemnation, as critics argue that any strategy aimed at forcibly removing the Palestinian population would violate fundamental human rights. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza has reached catastrophic levels, with over 2 million people facing severe shortages of food, clean water, and medical supplies due to the ongoing Israeli blockade. International organizations have warned of impending famine in the region, prompting calls for an immediate end to the blockade and unhindered access for humanitarian aid. World leaders are increasingly vocal against Israel's actions, with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney condemning the denial of aid to civilians and French President Emmanuel Macron announcing France's intention to formally recognize Palestine as a sovereign state at the upcoming UN General Assembly. This decision reflects growing frustration among European nations regarding the conflict's trajectory and highlights a shift towards advocating for Palestinian recognition. In contrast, Trump dismissed Macron's announcement, asserting that it would not change the situation on the ground or alter U.S. policy, which remains firmly aligned with Israeli interests. As tensions continue to escalate, Trump's remarks suggest a grim outlook for the future of Gaza, with predictions of further violence and military operations on the horizon. The international community watches closely as the situation develops, awaiting a resolution that prioritizes peace and humanitarian needs. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.